Welcome back, viewers at home. As we celebrate Women's Month, we are honored to shine a spotlight on extraordinary women whose life and work embody the essence of resilience, leadership, and social impact. Now, Mahlodi Kgatle is the founder and CEO of Speakingdom. Now, she is a beacon of social entrepreneurship. She has dedicated herself to empowering marginalized communities as well as fostering leadership across Africa. Now, Mahlodi will share her inspiring story, her vision for Speakingdom, and her insights on leadership and social entrepreneurship. Mahlodi, good evening and welcome to INX Prime.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Now, I believe you were born and raised in Tembisa, didn't have I don't want to say the best of upbringing, because I think there's a bit of bittersweet moments in your upbringing. And if you can just share with our viewers at home by helping us know and introduce us to Mahlodi.
I like that you didn't automatically assume that the upbringing wasn't all rosy, because there were parts that were really rosy. My parents ensured that I had top-class education, so I had the privilege, and it really is a privilege, that I didn't go to a township school. I went to a school in the suburbs, and that's really where my passion, my flair, my talent was unearthed, because I had the ability, or rather the blessing, to be noticed by teachers that said, this one has a gift. You know, this one has something that she can offer the world. But then you come home from that environment where you are nurtured, you are recognized, and you have to take all your blazers off, your school uniform off, and then be a child in the hood. Ube umntwana wasekazi, udlala mathini. And I'd actually get teased for speaking English. I'd get teased for having views, different views from my peers in the township. But ultimately, I believe that all of those were essential in shaping the person that I am today. All of those polarities in the different worlds that I had to navigate around was so, so crucial to making me who I am today.
You know, one thing about having I believe is different worlds, because you go in a world where how you're speaking is quite acceptable, it's welcomed, is celebrated, and you go into a world where it's quite foreign. And I think when something is foreign, we tend to sort of tease it and down it just so that we feel better about ourselves in a way. How did you balance that? I don't want to say identity crisis, but it must have been some form of, how do I navigate this, you know, this beautiful difference of mine, the unicorn in me? How did you navigate that?
To be honest with you, I'm still navigating it today. And I'll tell you why. I moved very quickly, because when you're young, you don't have an active realization that I'm actually not fitting in.
Yeah.
You don't actively realize that I'm not fitting in. I need to sort of course correct and make myself fit in. Yeah. And you move your whole life navigating spaces where you don't fit in. I'll give you another example of when I graduated from school. I got a BCom honors degree. I went into working in the corporate environment, and again, I didn't fit in, because this thing in me of purpose and serving communities and being, like you said, a beacon for social entrepreneurship was burning in me. Again, I was in another space, finding myself at odds, loggerheads with myself. So I think the important thing is to always stay true to oneself. We say that, and it sounds cliche, but stay true to yourself. When you're yourself, you are the epitome of what God has called you to be.
After all, there's only one you.
There's only one you. And that's the only you can be. When you're yourself, you're as close to perfection as it can get. So stay the course. If you're bullied for being that child that's unspoken, stay the course. That's who you are. It's going to serve you later on.
I'm really loving this, because I remember I was listening to a radio station and someone was like, growing up, they said I talk a lot, and now I get paid to talk a lot. Now, speaking about talking a lot, Speakingdom, how did that come to be? I believe you started it in 2018. Can you tell us the journey of you birthing Speakingdom, the reasons behind it, and your hopes for it?
Speakingdom. So, like I mentioned, I was that child that was talkative. I would get into trouble at school for talking. You know, you get the child that's good in school, they do well academically, they represent the school at school competitions, but talking. When the teacher says, I'm coming, I'm going to the class next door, write down a list of the names of those who were talking. I was always number one. I'm in detention for talking. Claudia, why? At some point, my father was like, my child, does it pain you to keep a low profile? What is wrong? You know, that to a point where I would actually he would sit me down and say, okay, what is the game plan for today? Okay, the game plan for today is to shush. What is the game plan for today? To keep a low profile. Do you think it worked? It didn't.
Your powerhouse.
It didn't work. And I think at some point, because of how I was then nurtured in my school environment, my father saw that it's a lost cause. This shushing business is not going to work. And I love that he turned the tide, because he also realized at some point that this child is not going to keep quiet because she's an extension of who I am. My father's a teacher by profession, right? And he's the kind of man, when he walks into this room right now, his presence will be felt. He'll make everyone feel welcome. He captivates audiences all around. So it's almost genetic, this thing. There are certain things about you that are just in you. They are innate. No matter how much you try and suppress them, they are just going to erupt. So the journey of Speakingdom was the overflow of the eruption from my purpose. So I was then in primary school taking part in Eisteddfods, which are prepared poetry festivals. And then when I got to high school, my English teacher, I think, I've never felt so alive in my life before. Because I got to English in grade 8 and there was this thing called orators.
Oh, okay.
Orators or public speaking in English. So it's a whole lesson where your teacher says you get to do speeches.
Oh, wow.
And listen to how I'm positioning it. You get to do speeches. Whereas other people are like, what? Speech for what, ma'am? Give me 0. Give me 0, ma'am. Speech. No. And for me, it was like, what? I get to just do a speech and write a speech and say it and people look at me. And that was let's call it the conception of Speakingdom. Because in my mind, it didn't mean anything then. But fast forward to my matric year, I won a national public speaking competition called the ATKV Festival. And that's when I really saw that, okay, I think there's something here. But again, it didn't materialize into anything until fast track a couple of years later. After winning that competition, I used to get DMs from parents saying, we remember you from that competition. We have a younger child that's struggling. Please assist. How can you assist? Please attend this public speaking festival, adjudicate public speaking competitions. And through that, I realized that, no, man, there's a business here. It's social entrepreneurship in the sense that you're giving back, you're helping, you're empowering, but there's also a business element to it. So that's how the journey really, really started.
You know what? You're a winner. And you're always someone who is, right now you're exhuming of go-getter, confidence, and all things beautiful. I want to know from you, I believe you were recognized in various capacities, including as part of Obama Young African Leadership Initiative and the ASRI Future Leaders Fellowship. I want to know, what does this win mean for, or how does it even influence the work that you're doing?
It's affirmation. Because the journey of purpose is very lonely. What I mean by this is you'll get moments where you think you are losing it. So remember earlier on I referred to a point in time in my career where I'm working. I'm doing what I was qualified, what I got a certificate. I walked on the stage to get a certificate that says this person has met all the minimum requirements for this degree. I'm in the field, I'm in the marketplace doing this thing, but I don't feel fulfilled. Then you ask yourself questions like, am I crazy? Look at the unemployment rate in this country. There's 4.9 million unemployed young people. And here I am sitting in a job and I'm not grateful. What does that say about me? Purpose. But it's lonely and you feel odd to even say to someone, I'm not happy. Because what do you mean you're not happy?
It sounded like you're ungrateful.
Country, with all the social inequalities that we're dealing with, you're telling me you're not going to be happy in your job? Sit down. So these opportunities were just affirmation, because part of the journey in these opportunities allowed me to meet other like-minded young people. With the Obama Young African Leaders Initiative, there were leaders from the SADC region across the SADC countries that are championing incredible initiatives. And you'll meet a young person, 21 years old, who will tell you, I finished my degree and I decided I'm not going to work because this purpose is calling me. Then you realize that I'm not crazy. Actually, I need to get to work, but work looks differently for me.
Now, Mahlodi, unfortunately, we have run out of time, and I'm so disheartened because there's so much to get through looking at the work that you're doing, and for the fact that you're actually also working with, you know, the likes of marginalized communities, which is something that we always need to always shine light to and speak so much insight into, and letting people understand that marginalized, yes, but it has a lot to offer to the world. Now, just in closing, seeing that it is the Women's Month, what would be your message, and what do you hope individuals take from our conversation that really speaks to you as the CEO as well as founder of Speakingdom?
Go boldly in the pursuit of what sets your heart on fire. Go boldly. No one's going to hand it to you on a silver platter and say, hey, I think this is what you should do with your life. But you know, there are things that are keeping you up at night. There are reasons why you're struggling to get out of bed to go and do that job that feels mundane and routine. Go boldly in the direction of those things that are setting your heart on fire. Because when you do that, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same.
Mahlodi, you've been a powerhouse, you've been an inspiration. This was quite a lovely conversation. As I mentioned earlier, I hoped that we had enough time, but you know, time is a thief of joy, if I can say so. But thank you so much for, you know, taking out the time and coming into the studio and spending it with us.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers at home, that was the CEO and founder of Speakingdom. Now, if you have a Mahlodi in your house who is speaking up a storm, let them be, support them and nourish their talent, because you never know. We could be sitting with your next Mahlodi here. You just never know. On that note, let's head over to an ad break. See you when we come back.